A very warm good morning to all the dignitaries present in the hall. On behalf of Vivekananda School of Engineering and Technology, I would like to greet and acknowledge our Honorable Chairman Sir, Dr. S.C. Vatsa, Honorable Vice Chairman, Mr. Vineet Vatsa. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to our respected Director General, Dr. Ashwini Kumar Sharma Sir, our Director of BTech Program, Professor Goldie Gabrani Ma'am, and respected faculty members. I, Khyati Daksha, from Artificial Intelligence and Data Science, here in the presence of remarkable inspiration, Professor Mayuri Mehta, a passionate learner, teacher, and researcher who will be enlightening us in today's session with her profound knowledge and wisdom. Dr. Mayuri received a doctorate in computer science engineering from National Institute of Technology, Surat, India. Her areas of teaching and research include data science, machine learning, deep learning, health informatics, computer algorithms, distributed computing, and Python program. Her 22 years of professional experience include several academic and research achievements along with administrative and organizational capabilities. She is awarded the Researcher of the Year Engineering Female by 3rd International Business and Academic Excellence Award Committee for her exceptional caliber and outstanding performance as an academician, researcher, mentor, advisor, and a thought leader. She has 13 patents and 1 copyright to her credit. She has co-edited 3 books, Tracking and Preventing Diseases with Artificial Intelligence, Knowledge Modeling and Big Data Analytics in Healthcare, and Explainable AI Foundations, Methodologies, and Applications, which are published by Renewed Publishers. Her books on data and algorithm for e-government and explainable AI in healthcare informatics are in process with Springer. She has authored a number of research papers and worked on several academic assignments in collaboration with professors from different universities across the globe. Her AI-powered healthcare project was approved for funding by the Multidisciplinary Research Unit of Surat Municipal Institute of Medical Education and Research. She has also received funds for several times from the government of Gujarat. With noble intention of applying her technical knowledge for societal impact, she is working on several AI-powered research projects in healthcare in association with doctors in doing private practice and doctors of medical college. She has served in several international conferences in different positions and has conducted 80 plus sessions in international conferences, short-term training programs, and faculty development programs. Not only this, she is also associated with several universities across the globe. Ma'am, we are extremely overwhelmed and honored to have you among us today. Now, ma'am, I invite you to come up on the dais and please lead the session.
A very good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for wonderful introduction. And it's a pleasure to address vibrant gathering this morning in a very cold atmosphere of Delhi. We are not used to of this cool atmosphere in Gujarat. Yeah, I am from Gujarat. Okay, firstly, I would like to thank Dr. S.C. Vats, visionary chairman of this group, able and dynamic directors, Ashwini Kumar sir and Goldie ma'am, and their team for inviting me and giving me opportunity to share my views on how AI, machine learning and data science are transforming various industries of the real world. The contents in the slides are compilation of the information from various resources, or they are from our own research work, and contents in slides are for educational and information purposes only. These are the learning outcomes of today's session. At the end of this session, you should understand the key concepts involved in data science process, That is how to gather the data, how to clean data, how to process that data to derive knowledge from the data. The next objective is to make you familiar with significance of machine learning for data science. By the completion of this session, you will also get insights on various applications of artificial intelligence and data science in various real life sectors, and you will also get exposure to AI and data science based use cases in real life domain, which is healthcare. Now before we proceed, I would like to know that how many of you have learned artificial intelligence. I am asking this because I need to know that what knowledge you have currently regarding this domains, and accordingly I need to cover the contents through my presentation. So how many of you are familiar or you have learned artificial intelligence subjects? Artificial intelligence, you have learned on your own or you have learned it as a part of your curriculum? Artificial intelligence, okay. Machine learning, how many of you have learned machine learning? Very good. And data science? Okay, very good. Okay, so you are familiar with fundamentals of this three domains: artificial intelligence, machine learning and data science. That's good. Okay, so I have divided the flow of presentation in mainly 5 parts. I shall start with brief introduction of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Then I shall discuss data science process and various applications of data science and artificial intelligence. Discussing the various applications of AI and data science, I will discuss the use cases of AI wherein data science is also used. And finally, I will present enormous future opportunities along with current challenges in these domains. Okay. Okay, people know these buzzwords today. These are very popular buzzwords: artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, data science, blockchain, cloud computing, cyber security. These are very buzzwords and popular words today. But less people know that how these terms are interconnected to each other. Several fields are interdisciplinary, like data science, it is interdisciplinary field, but people do not know. Like people throw these words together, machine learning and data science, and there are several myths about these two subjects. Some people, they believe that machine learning and data science, they are used as synonyms. Some people believe that machine learning is a part of data science, some believe that data science is a part of machine learning, and some believe that they are different. But actually data science is an interdisciplinary field wherein we use machine learning, wherein we use statistics, and wherein domain knowledge is also required. So less people know that how these fields are interconnected. So I hope that today you will come to know that how these two fields are interconnected with each other: AI and data science and machine learning and data science, how they are interconnected with each other. Okay. Okay, so everyone knows artificial intelligence today, right? You know artificial intelligence. Can you define artificial intelligence in 1 line or 2 lines? I'll enjoy if you will also interact with me, because otherwise then you will get bored if it would be a one-way communication. So, any definition of artificial intelligence? Yes?
It is the ability of a computer to think like humans.
Ability of computer to?
Think like humans.
To think like human. Okay, fine, good. Any additional points you would like to share about artificial intelligence? So we all know that artificial intelligence is a branch of computer science, and it is also known as machine intelligence because it has capability to demonstrate artificial intelligence, which is in contrast to the natural intelligence demonstrated by human, and that's why it is known as artificial intelligence or machine intelligence. It has capability to analyze complex data. It has capability to analyze complex data. So that is artificial intelligence. It includes several subdomains, and these are the traditional subdomains of artificial intelligence: neural networks, evolutionary computation, reasoning, knowledge representation, machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, expert systems. These are the popular and big subdomains of artificial intelligence. Among the subdomains, machine learning, deep learning and natural language processing, they have been very popular since last few years, or we can say since last 1 decade. These three subdomains have been very popular and a wide amount of research is carried out using these three domains. What is machine learning then? As you can see in this figure, machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. Machine learning includes statistical techniques and it gives power to computer systems to learn from data. Machine learning, machines learn from data. So machine learning gives ability to computer systems to learn from data, and their performance is improved over the period of time through this learning without explicit programming. So that is machine learning. Okay, let me tell you that machines learn similar way we human learn. How do we learn, or how? Okay, we all know that we have brain, which is incredible organ of our body. Brain consists of billions of neurons. These neurons are connected to each other via massive complex parallel networks. Massive network, complex network, parallel network. Neurons in our biological neural network system, they have ability to send and receive signals, and moreover they have ability to perform tasks in parallel. For example, when you drive car, you take judgment through your eyesight, you control accelerator and brake through your feet, and you handle gear through your hands. So that means you can perform several tasks together in parallel because neurons can work parallelly. Similarly, this machine learning, machines learn through observation and analysis. We have machines, they learn through artificial neural network. We learn through biological neural network, and machines, they learn through artificial neural network. I will show you, this is how artificial neural network looks like, sorry. This is how it looks like. This is how neural network, this is artificial neural network. Several types of artificial neural networks are there. Each neural network has one input layer, one output layer, and in between there are several hidden layers. So here also you can see that artificial neural network also has several neurons. All these circles, they represent neurons. They are also connected via networks. They can also receive and send signals. They can also perform tasks in parallel. So they work exactly like our biological neural network works. Moreover, these machines learn similarly the way we learn. How do we learn? How do you learn? By experience, through observation and analysis, right? When we are kids, for example, kids, they learn walking and talking through observation and analysis. When they grow, they go out. They increase their vocabulary. They start speaking. When their vocabulary increases, it means their learning increases. So they start speaking clear statement and complete statement. So that means accuracy of their speaking increases. So similarly here, machines also learn through observation and analysis. They observe and analyze data and they learn from this data. So this is how machines learn. So we can say that the training set is the teacher of machines. They learn through this data sets. So this is how they learn. Okay. So these are the various kinds of neural networks, artificial neural networks through which this machines learn. What is deep learning? Okay, now before we go to deep learning, can you tell me the machine learning applications which you might be using in your day-to-day life? You might be using several applications, but you might not be knowing that they are machine learning based applications. They may be applications, they may be devices. Can you give me an example of machine learning based application which you are using in your day-to-day life? Okay, Google search engine, yes, correct. It is the example, like Google search engine, it uses machine learning to recognize your voice, to translate languages, to produce results for your search queries. Google Map, it is also example of machine learning based, right? Fitbit, you might be using MI Fitbit, it is also machine learning based application. You might be using Alexa, Amazon Alexa and Google Home, which are virtual personal assistant systems. They are also machine learning based devices. So there are several day-to-day life applications which are machine learning based. Okay, deep learning, what is deep learning? It is, you can see that it is subset of machine learning. The major difference between machine learning and deep learning is that deep learning networks, they have several hidden layers, and that's why the learning, they learn in deep. They learn in deep, that's why it is called deep learning. But the difference is artificial neural networks which we use for machine learning, they have 2 to 3 hidden layers, as you can see in this figure. See this, here there are 2 hidden layers, there is no hidden layer in this, right? Here there are 2 hidden layers, 2 hidden layers. Okay, here there is only 1 hidden layer, because the first is always input layer, the last is output layer, and in between there are hidden layers. So these are traditional artificial neural networks which are used by machine learning. But when it is deep learning, it may have as many as 150 hidden layers to learn the things in deep. So that's why they are also called deep neural networks. Deep learning networks are also called deep neural network because they use networks with many hidden layers, and they can produce results, like they produce results with state of the art accuracy, and that performance is always comparable with human performance. So they perform very fine, and that's why they have been very popular nowadays in research. So that is deep learning. Okay, so this is regarding like major subdomains of artificial intelligence, machine learning and deep learning. Okay, so you might be knowing that AI is not a new field. It is there since 1950. Even I studied this subject in 19 or 2000 as an elective subject. But after learning this subject, I never applied it for next 15 years. Can you tell me any reason why it was not popular earlier and why it is popular now? Data was not available, just you need to add one significant term here. Digital data was not available. In real life sectors, data was available earlier too. In healthcare, data was available on notebooks. In banks also data was available, but it was not available in digital form. Today data in every real life sector is available in electronic form, and that too in massive volume, and hence it has been possible to use this artificial intelligence and machine learning, because when we have digital data, we can use machine learning techniques to analyze this huge amount of data and to derive knowledge from this data. But earlier data was, so though this AI techniques are available since 1950, we were not using them earlier, and since last 1 decade we have applied them to several problems of real life sectors. Okay, this is John McCarthy. He is known as father of the AI. He is one of the founders of AI, and he announced the first conference of AI, which was held in 1956. He was computer scientist and cognitive scientist, and he spent most of his career at Stanford University in America, and he is called father of AI. So he invented in 1955, and he organized first conference on AI in 1956, and this is one of the papers of that conference. So what he wanted to develop a machine which can solve problems like human, which can understand the things like human, which can think like the human, etc. So that's why he developed, and he got several awards for developing a group of programming language and developing the Turing machine and etc. Okay, so though AI is there, as we have discussed since 1950, we have started applying this artificial intelligence techniques to data since last 1 decade. So let's see how this AI and data science, they both have emerged in real life sectors. So there are main 3 reasons that how these subjects have emerged in real life sectors. The first reason is the high amount of electronic data. As I told you earlier also, data was available, but it was not available in electronic form, but now it is available in electronic form in massive volume, and this data doesn't make any sense until you derive knowledge from this data. So now, like, to derive knowledge from this data, increased computation power is required, rapid analytic techniques are required, and today we also have increased computation power. In our time we were using machines of 64 MB RAM, it was MB, and now you are using machines of 16 GB RAM, and it's not even costly if you want to increase RAM in your machines. Even the hard disk, they are of terabytes nowadays. Earlier we were using in MB or at the max 1 GB, right? Now we are using 1000 GB. So computation power has no limitation today. You can increase like whatever amount of computation power you want It is comparatively cheap and you can purchase. So we have increased computation power. Also we have new data mining and natural processing techniques available with us. And so it has been possible to analyze this electronic data. So though we have electronic data, this electronic data doesn't make any sense if you can't derive knowledge, if you can't derive insights from this data. But it has been possible with the help of increased computation power and with the help of rapid analytic techniques. The graph below, it shows the data trends. You can see that over the period of by 2020, most of the data generated in real world has been unstructured. We have different types of data. The types can be text data, image data, voice data, video, voice data. And the other way of categorizing this data is we can have structured data, we can have unstructured data, we can have semi-structured data. Structured data you might be knowing as you have studied data science, I think fundamentals of data science. Structured data means if you have data in tabular format, structured data, right? Students information like student roll number, marks, marks of different subject, this is structured data. And unstructured data, images are good example of unstructured data. So nowadays, like even if it is timetable, you used to take picture of that timetable, right? Until and unless teachers share that timetable in PDF format with you, right? So everything like you would like to take picture. So that is unstructured data. So by 2020, in most of the real life sectors, the data has been unstructured data, and to analyze this unstructured data and derive the insights, we need more complex machine learning algorithms, the more complex data mining algorithms. But today we have those algorithms too, and that's why a lot of research is going on in machine learning, artificial intelligence, natural language processing, data science by the researchers of different sectors, researchers of finance sectors, researchers of education sector, researchers of medical sector, technical experts. They are carrying out a huge amount of research in this domain. Not only that, big players like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, IBM, they are investing billions for research related to AI and data science, and hence AI and data science related job market is increasing very rapidly these days. So the future is like, you can imagine the future. They are investing billions in this domain because they are very good subjects, tools for technological advancements in real life sectors. These are some of the application areas of artificial intelligence. I have not included all, but you can see that artificial intelligence is useful in healthcare, it is useful in business, education, autonomous cars, agriculture, tourism, right? Everywhere you will see, like in healthcare it is used to automated disease diagnosis, it is used for drug discovery, it is used to analyze genomics and genetics. It is used to analyze different kinds of medical image modalities like CT scans, MRI, then X-ray images, and that's why it has been possible during corona time to invent new drugs for corona disease in short time, because otherwise drug discovery process, the traditional drug discovery process, it takes 10 to 12 years to invent a new drug. So it's a longer, like it takes 10 to 12 years to reach from laboratory to marketplace, because among the 5,000 drugs, only 5 drugs are permitted for human test, and among those 5 drugs only 1 is permitted for human treatment. So time is also very long, and cost involved in inventing new drug is also very high. But due to artificial intelligence, it has been possible to invent new drugs in short span, and that we have experienced during corona time. Moreover, it is also possible to diagnose diseases analyzing the different medical image modalities, like you can diagnose pneumonia, you can diagnose corona, you can diagnose TB analyzing X-ray images. Similarly, analyzing the ultrasound images of brain or MRI images of brain, a brain tumor can be identified. So there are several applications of this artificial intelligence and data science too in all these real life sectors. I will tell you the different applications in different sectors later. Here I have included few applications. AI for autonomous car. For autonomous car, like not only for driving that car, AI is also used to identify obstacles and objects. It is also used to identify traffic signals, etc. AI in healthcare, I have already discussed some applications like drug discovery, treatment design, medication. Medication management means it has been like you can be in charge of your own health nowadays because chatbots are available, healthcare applications are available, like mobile apps are available. So virtual assistant is possible through this mobile apps and web-based apps. So several ways are there, and because of that it has been possible to manage the health of people in easier manner. So several apps are there. If you will search for medical apps in Google, now you will find hundreds of apps all over the world, and some of them have been very popular. These are all based on machine learning, deep learning, like you can say they are based on artificial intelligence. And there are several popular apps used in UK countries and US countries like Sensely, Medisafe. Medisafe is used in Israel and they are startups, like, and they have been very popular. There is also one app called AI Skin, I think, and it has been launched in more than 40 countries in 2016 and it is used widely all over the world. So you will find hundreds of apps when you will search in Google. Robot assisted surgery. Robot assisted surgery, like when we see that AI assisted robotic surgery, good morning sir. AI assisted robotic surgery, so it's not new, though you might be hearing it for the first time. Robots are not new in healthcare domain. They are there since last 35 years and we have simple laboratory robots to robots which assist surgeons in performing procedures. So there are also robots which perform surgeries on their own, and there are also robots which assist surgeons in performing those procedures. Moreover, there are also social robots used in healthcare, and those robots are used to perform repetitive tasks, to take care of elderly people in hospitals. And let me tell you, let me share the names of those robots, later you can search in Google. They are called Pepere, Cabochon, Paper, these are the names of those robots. So this is not a new field, robots have been used in this field since last 35 years. And let me share with you that India got its first robot to perform surgery in AIIMS Delhi in 2006. And after that, so many doctors have been trained and they have performed several robot assisted surgery. So there are several advantages of artificial intelligence in healthcare too. This is a very big domain, like I am giving you only, I am sharing only 1% with you in, that how artificial intelligence is used in healthcare. Okay, finance and banking, there are several uses of artificial intelligence in finance and banking also. They use artificial intelligence to segment the customers, and they monitor the purchasing behavior and investment patterns of the customers, and accordingly they segment them in different groups and accordingly they offer schemes to them. Moreover, they also use artificial intelligence to predict the amount of loan to be offered to customers. So there are several uses of artificial intelligence in finance and banking too. AI in movies also they are not new. You will find movies of 2000 also wherein AI has been used, and today also you will find movies wherein AI has been used. So artificial intelligence is used in this sector for script writing, for making production and release schedule, to predict the success of movie on the box office. It is also used for adding the color effects in the movie, for sound effects in the movie. So several uses are there, and if you like here I have included a link where you will find the movies wherein AI has been used in chronological order, and you will see that in different movies AI has been used for different purposes. And for this purposes different tools are available if you want to edit your films with the help of artificial intelligence, and here are the popular 6 tools of AI which are used in filmmaking. Okay, in military also it is used. In military it is used for different purposes. Like we know that military systems are vulnerable to cyber attacks. So we can predict cyber attacks when we use artificial intelligence in military. Moreover, to identify obstacles, this artificial intelligence is used there. Robots are also used in military for logistic and transportation. So different purposes are there in military also. Like all these are very big areas. These are different real life sectors wherein AI is used. And even if you want to know the applications of AI in any one of this real life sector, it's a vast topic area. So you can later explore it, that how exactly it is used in this domain. So you name the field and you will find application of artificial intelligence in the field, in those fields today. You must be knowing Sophia, everyone knows her, right? She is the first world citizen, right? And she has represented, like she has attended several conferences, she has given several interviews, and this is the picture of Sophia when she attended conference in Kolkata, and she wore this red sari that day. So she is also there in several magazines. So this is also AI, with the help of AI. This is recent like examples. I could not add more recent examples, because last month also some new invention had been declared using AI. I forgot to add them, but this is September 2022. First time, every year art competition is organized in European countries, and this is first time that painting generated with the help of AI won the first prize. So other participants, they made their article, they made their art manually, and this was the only art created with the help of AI, and this art won the first prize in September 2022, 3 months back. This is also recent invention in using artificial intelligence. This is again new, this is different robot. We know Sophia, but this is AIDA. The name of this robot is AIDA, and this robot she represented in UK Parliament, the first robot to speak before UK Parliament in October 2022, and the discussion carried out by her was accepted. So these are some new innovations with the help of AI. So just to list a few more fields that where AI can be used, like art to generate fake faces, to generate quotes, to generate memes, to create cartoon characters, in fashion show, in generating logo, music, content, everywhere you can use artificial intelligence, because we discussed that what exactly it is. So wherever you have a huge amount of data, digital data, you can make use of artificial intelligence to derive insights, to derive knowledge, which will useful to society. These are some more use cases like AI for good. This is the research carried out few years back by Stanford University. AI, they have used AI to address socially relevant problems, and such as homelessness, and this algorithm is able to identify from satellite pictures. It identifies that it identifies those images and it analyzes those images, and it identifies which areas have the highest poverty levels, who are the homelessness kids, etc. So this is developed by them. It is also used in this domain. Okay, we know that. In education also, there are a number of companies that create robots to teach subjects to children ranging from biology to computer science. So this is also like in education, it is highly used. These are some more applications. Self-flying helicopters, it can carry up to 6,000 pounds of cargo, and this helicopter can drop nearly 2800 gallons water on the fire. AlphaGo you must be knowing. This is very recent development, and it has proven that AI can beat the performance of human. So the players, the AlphaGo, this is Google MindDeep's application. It defeats Go champion Lee, which AI researchers thought was not possible to achieve in next 20 years. So this is, I'll tell you that with the help of reinforcement learning, you have learned machine learning. So you must be knowing that there are 3 ways. That time I'll discuss again that AlphaGo is created with the help of, like AlphaGo is based on reinforcement learning. Okay, threats we will discuss at the end of session, not now. These are future possibilities. Okay. So we have seen what is artificial intelligence. I told you that we need to know that what is the connection between artificial intelligence and data science. I have introduced AI and its application in various sectors. Now let's see data science, and let's see how artificial intelligence is connected to data science, or how data science is connected to artificial intelligence. right? As I told you, people have myth that they are synonyms or they are different, but actually they go together. Machine learning and data science, they go together. Without machine learning, digital data have no significance because you don't have any way to analyze that huge amount of complex digital data. And if you don't have digital data, machine learning has no significance because machine learning is able to analyze digital data. So digital data is also required and machine learning is also required, and they go together to derive knowledge. So let's see now what is data science. In 2012, Harvard Business Review, they announced that data scientist is the sexiest job of the 21st century. This statement was made in 2012, and that time they were not knowing that what would be the future of data scientists, but after 2 years they realized that data scientist, it's not like sexiest job, but most of the time data scientists, they spend in collecting and processing the data rather than deriving the fruitful insights from that data. And you remember this, in future if you work on data science project, 70% of time you have to spend in collecting quality data and processing that data, because data science works on garbage in, garbage out philosophy. If your data is not filtered, if your data is not relevant, it will not produce fruitful results. It will not produce competent results, it will not produce accurate results. So it works on garbage in, garbage philosophy, and so data scientists, they spend most of their time in collecting and filtering and processing that huge amount of data. Data science has been like, it is a profession today which is popular, successful, and it is maturing also. And if we want to define it, it is a fusion of 3 domains. Data science is a fusion of 3 domains: computer science, mathematics, specifically statistics, and domain knowledge. So data scientists, they use computer sources to write complex algorithms which can analyze that huge amount of digital data. So to write those complex algorithms, computer resources, computer science is used here. Statistics, they are machine learning techniques, because machine learning techniques are nothing but they are statistical techniques. So these techniques are required to analyze this huge amount of complex data. So that is mathematics. And domain knowledge of course is required. If you are working on a data science project in healthcare, then that domain knowledge is required. If you are working on data science project in agriculture, that agriculture domain knowledge is required. If you are working on data science project in finance, then finance related knowledge is required. So domain knowledge is very important, and that's why it is always advisable, it is always recommended that experts of that domain and technical experts, they should collaborate and they should work together to produce fruitful results. But this is where we are lacking in India. We don't have close association with people of different sectors. Like technical experts, they work on their own, they get domain knowledge on their own, right? Medical experts or say finance experts, they get AI knowledge and they work their own, but there is like, you will rarely find the close association between experts of different domain, and that's why like we are not able to produce results competent to the results produced by other countries. So close association is always required when you work on projects of different domains. This data science, it is used in real life sectors, in real life industries, because it has proven several advantages. Here some advantages I have mentioned, but there are endless advantages, like it reduces the cost of analyzing data and producing the strategies for future. It devises new business strategy to get into new markets. It launches a new product or services, it increases production, etc. Several advantages you will find of data science in real life industries. Okay, just to make you aware of this, that several people, they believe that data scientist and data analyst, they are synonyms. No, they are not synonyms, they are different. Their roles are different. Right? Data scientists, they need more knowledge. Data analyst means data is there and simply that data is examined to derive some information. For example, you have a retail market data or you have bank data, so it is simply analyzed that how many customers visited bank last month. right? How many customers they opted loan, etc., etc., right? So it is simply examining the amount of data available. But data science is analyze the past data. If something happened in the past, analyze why it happened, predict what will happen in future, what new strategies should be implemented in future. So based on past experiences, new strategies are also devised and that are used in future. So that is data science. Data analyst does not need the knowledge of artificial intelligence, specifically machine learning, but data scientists, they need knowledge of machine learning because you are automating the task, you are automating the jobs, segmentation of customers in different groups, you are automizing this. That AI based model will analyze purchasing behavior, investment pattern, etc., and it itself will segment those customers in different sectors, different segments. So that is the job of data scientist. But analyst jobs are very simple, and that's why here you can see that this is the knowledge, additional knowledge required by data scientists. Data scientists, they also need to know machine learning and artificial intelligence, programming skills they should have. Moreover, they should be knowing big data, NoSQL. NoSQL is used to analyze unstructured data. So we discussed that we have structured as well as unstructured data in real life sectors. So to analyze structured data, you might be knowing the several ways. You can fire SQL queries and you get the information. But for unstructured data, we have NoSQL. They also need to have the knowledge of data wrangling and mining. So data scientists, they should have more knowledge. So AI and machine learning, they are not required if you want to be data analyst, but they are required if you want to be data scientist. Okay. Now, before we see some applications of data science, let us see the project life cycle of data science. I'll quickly cover this because this is a huge, this is a big topic. There are 5 different steps. I cannot cover them fully in limited time, but at least you will get idea that how this is processed, how data science project is executed. So these are the 5 major steps in data science project. Obtaining data, cleaning data, this is second step, scrubbing the data. The third step is carry out exploratory analysis. Fourth step is create model. So this is where machine learning is used in data science. I told you that without machine learning, a huge amount of digital data has no significance. We need machine learning to analyze this huge amount of digital data. So here we use machine learning. And if machine learning techniques, as I told you, okay, I learned in 1999, but I never applied it because earlier digital data was not available. So machine learning techniques, they also do not have any significance if we don't have digital data. So here we use machine learning and this is interpreting the results. So let us quickly see that what we do during these steps in data science process. So first step is gathering data, like first 2 steps are gathering data and cleaning the data. As I told you, it works on garbage in, garbage out philosophy. So this is very important step. Before you start working on your project, you need to ask yourself that what kind of data is required to work on this project, whether this data is available or it is to be collected. If it is to be collected, then on which like over the period of for which span this data is to be collected, for 6 months, for 1 year, for 3 years, right? Which kind of data should be collected? So there are several questions you need to ask yourself, discussing with the domain expert, and then you need to collect that data. There are several ways to collect data. Here I have mentioned some of the popular ways to collect data, and probably you might be knowing some of these techniques also. Data may be available in database. Have you studied database management subject? Database management subject, okay, not yet, okay. So there you will learn that we have SQL, so we can fire query and we can collect data from the database. So that is one simple way to collect data. Querying databases like PostgreSQL, Oracle, MongoDB, etc. Another way to collect data is you can use, you can store data in Excel sheet in different format, in XML format, in CSV format as per the requirement, and you can read data from those Excel files. You can also collect data from websites. So we have very good libraries available in Python, and that Python, which is very Python library which is very popular is known as Beautiful Soup library. This Beautiful Soup library is useful to collect data from several web pages. We also have another way to collect data from websites. We have APIs of Google, we have Twitter APIs, we have Facebook APIs. So through these APIs you can connect to servers of those Facebook, Google, Twitter, and they allow you to collect data of some span. So you can collect data from their servers and you can carry out research using this data science and machine learning skills. Another way, these are simple ways, like you can use comma separated file, and this is tab separated, right, values. The full form of CSV is comma separated values, and this is tab separated values. So you can also have data in this simple formats. So there are several ways to collect data. It depends on application on which you are working. So you can collect data. Once you collect data, you have to filter it, because irrelevant data will produce unexpected results, may not produce the desired results, may not produce the correct results, may not produce the accurate results, right. So we need to filter this data, and there are several ways to filter this data. These are some of the data processing techniques, and I'll briefly discuss that what is the significance of these techniques once you have collected data. Now before you feed this data to machine learning model for learning, you have to pre-process it. You have to pre-process it, right, because if you will feed garbage data, it will produce garbage results. So you have to filter it. So which are the different ways? These are the popular ways. The first is rescaling data. Rescaling is changing the range of data. You rescale the data. Let me give you example to understand this, that why it is required. Suppose you want to analyze temperature of different cities. Temperature of say Delhi is collected in Celsius, and temperature of say Surat is collected in Fahrenheit. You want to compare these temperatures and you want to derive some insights. Can you compare this data, one in Celsius measurement and another in Fahrenheit measurement? You can't compare. Units are different. Units are different. So either you need to collect Celsius into Fahrenheit or Fahrenheit into Celsius, and then only you can compare them. So that is what we do in rescaling. We first subtract or add some value, and then we multiply or divide by some value. That is what we do when we convert data from Celsius to Fahrenheit or Fahrenheit to Celsius. So then only they are comparable. Another example, suppose in one division professor has taken an exam of say subject data science of 100 points, and in second division the professor of that division has conducted exam of say 150 points of the same subject. Now we want to know that who student of which division has scored the highest marks in data science subject. They are not comparable, because one professor has conducted exam out of 100 points and second professor has conducted exam out of 150 marks. So not comparable. So either you need to convert 100 into 150 or 150 into 100, then only it is meaningful. And this is required because when we collect data for any data science application, we collect data from different sources. Like in healthcare domain also, you may collect MRI images from one radiology center, second radiology center, third located in Delhi, fourth located in Hyderabad. So they are different radiology centers. They are using different machines of different specifications and configurations. So you need to convert them into uniform format. So this is important step. Okay, the next step is standardizing data and normalizing data. Both the standardization data and normalization data, they are used to put the different variables in the same range. I will show you the example of normalization, and I will also tell you the minor difference between standardization of data and normalization of data. Standardization is also used to put data in same scale, and normalization is also used to put data on the same scale when you have different variables varying over the different range. Okay, let me show you example only. Okay, now here you can see that suppose I want to process this data. Okay, now here you can see that this data set, this is structured data. Do you understand? Yes, it is structured data. So this is name, feature, this is age, salary and year of experience. Here you can notice that age ranges from which range? 25 to, or we can say 22. This is employee details. So let's say age ranges from 20 to 60. because we start working from 2021 until 60 we work. So let's say that value of this feature range from 20 to 60. Salary, it ranges from 30,000 to maximum is 1.5 lakhs, right? So let's say that the range of salary is 10,000 to 2 lakhs. So this feature ranges from 10,000 to 1.2 lakhs, sorry. Okay, and this is years of experience. So maximum how many years we work? 39, 40, right? Because we get retired at 60. So 39 and we start working from 2021. So this is, let's say that this value ranges from 0 to 40. So these are the scales of this different features in data science, that this feature ranges from 0 to 40, this ranges from 10,000 to 2 lakhs, and this ranges from 20 to 60, right? 20 to 60. Are you with me? Yes. So this ranges, okay. Now here you can see that this feature, it has very high range. If you do not pre-process this data and if you directly fit this data to machine learning model, it may learn that result which it has produced are highly impacted by the feature which has high range. So that is called biased results. Actually that is not the fact. It is not the highly important feature to produce the results. All features are equally important, let's say, to produce the results. So when all features are equally important and they range from they range in different scales, we need to bring them to the same scale, and this is where we need standardization, normalization. Difference between standardization and normalization is that standardization allows you to put data in any range. Say for example, from 10,000 to 2 lakh, I want to convert it from say 20 to 60. It is possible. But normalization means the range would be either 0 to 1 or -1 to 1. Data gets converted to this range only, 0 to 1 or -1 to 1. And there are also scientific applications wherein we need normalization. So you need to start on working these projects, then only you will get you will be able to know that where exactly the standardization is required and where exactly the normalization is required. Okay, the next is binarizing the data. Sometimes processing becomes very easy when we convert data into binary format. For example, there is a column gender in your data set. So gender means it would be female or male. Okay, so it is a string female. You are computer scientist. You know very well that string female male. It consists of characters, say 6 characters and 4 characters. So processing characters needs more power, computation power compared to processing single digit. So instead of that, what can we do? We can convert like 0, 1, let's say female 1 and male 0. So you can convert this data from female male to binary codes 0, 1, right? So that that saves a lot of computation power, that saves processing time, and processing becomes like very easy with binarizing the data. The next is one hot encoding. What is one hot encoding? Categorical data is converted into different format. Like here you can see that data is given in this table, orange table. Okay, now here you can see that this is fruit feature, this is categorical value of each fruit, and this is the price. So we have different types of fruits, and you can see that here we have banana, here also we have banana, here we have papaya, here, okay, here we have apple, here also we have. So we can convert them. We want representation of data in different format. So can you see the different format? Now instead of this features, this orange color table, it has how many features? 3. Which 3? Fruit, categorical value of fruit, and price. Okay, now you have converted into another representation. So which are the features now? Name of fruit, different fruits, right? And this 1, 0, like here as per this record, it shows that 1 or 0 should appear in this. So it depends on your data science objectives, that what are your ultimate objectives when you are working on data science, what outputs you want to produce. So based on your objectives, sometimes we need to convert data from one format to another format. Okay, the next, sorry. Okay, the next is label encoding. Label encoding, now see how it differs from binary encoding. Binary encoding, what does it mean? 0 and 1 only, right? So if you have two possibilities, suppose there is one column which includes yes, no, so we can convert into binary, only two possibilities, so 0, 1. But this encoding means when we have several text labels and we want to convert them into numbers, then we can use this label encoding. Suppose there is a column color and there are only one of these three possibilities, red, blue and green. So instead of this, what we can do, we can use code for this text values. For red I may use 0, for green 1 and blue 2. So again it's a number, so processing numbers is comparatively easier than processing text. So if there are few possibilities, then you can convert them into numbers, and this is called label encoding. So these are the different ways to pre-process your data. These are some of the popular ways. As I told you before, once you collect the data, you need to pre-process that data so that processing becomes easy. Okay. The next step is, in data science project, the next step is exploratory data analysis. This is where statistics is involved, and this is not new. Exploratory data analysis was introduced in 1970s. Statistic techniques are there since so many years. So this exploratory data analysis, it involves statistics. Here once we pre-process data, we would like to know that how that data is distributed, whether there are any missing values in data or not, whether there are any redundant variables, whether there are duplicate records, then we need to deal with all this inconsistency in data. So again, like before you feed this data to your machine learning model, you need to check all these things, right? And you need to filter, you need to remove inconsistency in data. Inconsistency like duplicate variables, features, duplicate variables, redundant rows, missing values, etc. So let's see that how it is carried out, and these are the usual goals of exploratory data analysis. It is to maximize insight into data sets, because now you have a data set filtered, so you can check that what trends are there in the data. So you can discover patterns also, like you can discover underlying structure, you can extract important variables. It is possible that you have collected data, but not all fields are not necessary when you want to train your machine. For example, you have a student data set which includes like huge amount of student related information starting from first semester to 8th semester. Student's name, address, mobile number, parents information, etc., etc., marks related information, co-curricular activity related information, etc., like so many, a lot more information is there. But when you want to carry out like analysis, when you want to analyze this data, you might not be requiring all these features of the data set. If you want to know that who is the outstanding student, you don't need parents information, you don't need address of that student, don't need the mobile number of that student. So you need to determine that which of these features are useful to carry out your data science related work. So you need to decide those features also. Among them you also need to decide that which will be the input features and which will be the output. You also need to decide the type of those features, whether they are numeric, whether they are text, right. So several things are carried out during this step. Detect outliers and anomalies, test underlying assumptions. So many things we do during this EDA analysis. So these are the major steps of exploratory data analysis. Variable identification, then check whether they are univariate, bivariate, multivariate, then missing value treatment, outlier treatment, variable transformation, variable creation, etc. So what is variable identification? Just I give you example. You have a big data set, so you need to identify which will be the predictor variables and which will be the target variables, like input and output variables. Also decide their types, so that you need to identify from the collected data. Then you check what is the relationship. If you are using multiple variables to make predictions or to do classification, then check what is the relation between those variables. So you need to carry out this analysis either univariate, bivariate and multivariate analysis, maybe only univariate, maybe both univariate and multivariate. Again, it depends on your objectives. After that, missing value treatment. Okay. Missing values, like here you can, okay, there is no example of missing value in this. Okay, missing value treatment. Some values might be missing in your data set. You cannot feed records of missing value to your machine learning model, otherwise model will be biased. It would be biased model and it may produce incorrect results. So before you feed this data to your machine learning model, either you have to replace that missing value, and there are different ways to deal with this missing value. You can use mean mode median method to replace this missing value, or you can remove that record. There are different ways to deal with missing values. So you can use one of those ways. After that, outlier detection. Outlier detection is very important. Let me first tell you what is outlier. Suppose a teacher has taken an exam of 100 marks and most of the students, they have scored marks between 30 to 70. Most of the students have scored marks between 30 to 70. But there are outstanding students, 2 to 3 outstanding students in class, and they have scored say 90 marks and 95 marks. So most of the students in class, they have scored marks in 30 to 70, and these 2 students, they have scored marks 90 and 95. And there is also one student like who has scored marks due to some say health problems. He could not prepare for the exam and he has scored say 5 marks. So these 3 students, they do not fall in normal range 30 to 70. So if you plot this data on graph, you will see that 2 students, they are lying beyond the range, and that 1 student is also lying beyond the range. So they are outliers. Now if you feed this data as it is, then bias model will be created. It will create variance, and bias model will be created and it will not learn correctly. So you need to give treatment to this outliers too, and there are several ways to check for outliers. Generally we use graphs like this step, EDA, exploratory data analysis. It uses graphs to carry out this analysis. Visualization techniques are used, and we have several types of graphs to visualize the data. So to detect outliers, we can use box plot, we can use scatter plot. These are the popular plots, and here is the example. Like here you can see that this is box plot. I will show you again, I have included more graphs. So you can like histogram can also be used, box plot can also be used. So these are the different types of graphs which can be used to detect the outliers, and there are also ways to deal with these outliers. So we need to give treatment to outliers also. So you can see that once we identify the features which will be used to train model, we need to know the relationship between them. Then we need to treat missing values. We also need to treat outliers. After that, variable transformation. Variable transformation, in this variable feature, it is replaced by function. Suppose there is a x value, there is a x column and there is value. I can replace it by its square value, I can replace it by logarithmic value, I can replace it by sine value. So this is when you want to convert, you want to rescale that data of that column, rescaling. When you take logarithmic value, you are bringing down, like values are brought down. Okay. So this kind of functions are used in variable transformation. That variable is replaced by one of the functions. And variable creation means sometimes this is the example of that this is the example of missing value. You can see that this is missing value, this is missing value, and when we feed this data to model and when we carry out exploratory data analysis, you can see that what are the statistics here. This is female 50%, male 50%, and this is missing 100%. And but when you fill this data, when you replace missing values, you are getting different statistics, 75% and 50%. These are outliers. Data falls in this range, and these 2 samples, they fall out of the range, so they are outliers. This is without outlier, like and this is with outlier. You can see the standard deviation. So if you do not treat outliers, you may get results like this, standard deviation 85.03, but when it is treated, like say 300, it is outlier because most of the data fall in the range 4 to 7 and this is 300. If you do not treat it, the standard deviation you get is 85.03. But if you treat it properly, because it may be by mistake, and even if it is not by mistake, you need to treat it. Okay, so this is 1.04. Okay, and this is like variable creation. Sometimes we need to replace one feature by multiple features. Sometimes we need to replace one feature by multiple features. For example, there is a feature date. It is one feature in your data set, white color shows the original data set. Now that one feature is replaced by three features, day, month and year. So based on your objectives, you need to create new variables in your data set.
In case of outlier example, you have removed that outlier.
Yeah.
So sometimes the extreme values are also important.
Sometimes they are important, but when we are feeding to machine learning model, like we need to feed it with the common samples, common values. Otherwise, it will produce biased results. So to avoid biasing between this, because it may learn that this is very important data value, but most of the students, they have scored this, and this is very simple example where we have only 10 samples. But usually when we train machine learning models, the samples are in thousands. So when they are in thousands and millions, and if we have a few data values which are not in the range, like it changes the processing, it changes the computation and it changes the results also. But here you can see that how it changes the results.
But in some real data, we use the paddings. We joins the data. Suppose we are working on a speech samples and we downsample rescaling, then we use the paddings. So we join that so that extremes will merge together.
Right, that time we use, even in image processing, computer vision, we use padding.
Pixels, values will distort.
So there the significance of that padding is different, like in computer vision, in speech processing. But when we are dealing with this numeric values, like outliers, we need to deal with them.
So mostly in that.
The reason is only to avoid biasing in producing results. Okay, so that was the third step. Now this is the fourth step. This is where most of the people are interested. The magics are created here. Here we use AI, we use machine learning here. This is the fourth step. So we are ready with now data, fine-tuned data, we gathered it, we scrubbed it, EDA is carried out, right? So we have data to be fed to machine learning model. Okay, so here like machine learning model is created. Which model to be chosen or to be created, it depends on your objectives, whether you want to predict the value, whether you want to classify the data. Accordingly, you have to choose machine learning algorithm and machine learning model is created here. So why do we need machine learning here? So these are the four reasons that why do we, once we have fine-tuned data, why do we need machine learning? So reasons are that day by day we are generating data in tons. Daily we are generating tons of digital data, and when it is, moreover this data is very complex, so it is almost impossible to manually analyze that data, right? Using machine learning you can analyze data in seconds, and if you, even if it is supermarket data, let's say today 1000 customers have visited that supermarket, and if you are asked to analyze that 1000 records, how much time you will take manually if you are given some objectives, right? But if it is machine learning, if it is automated, this task is automated, then it takes seconds. So with increasing amount of complex data, machine learning techniques are must, right? So we are using machine learning. Moreover, machine learning algorithms, they have capability to find unknown patterns, right? Manually you might not notice, but if you ask machine learning model, it may notice that the people, the customers who have bought bread, they have also bought butter. The customers who have bought jeans, they have also bought t-shirt. So this kind of hidden patterns, they are possible via machine learning algorithms. Then improve decision making. Machine learning techniques are very helpful to produce accurate results, faster results and cheaper results. which is otherwise impossible manually. Right? Human decisions are subjective sometimes. If we talk about the healthcare sector, decisions made by doctors may be subjective. If you visit one doctor and if you show if you visit one doctor, the diagnosis may be of one kind, observing your symptoms, and with the same symptoms, if you visit second doctor, the diagnosis may be slightly different. So that is because they have different expertise, they have different amount of knowledge. Moreover, the decisions are subjective, but when it is AI based, it is machine learning based, deep learning based, it produces, like this machine learning based systems, they produce more accurate, faster and cheaper results. But please remember that in any sector, this AI based systems are not to replace the professionals of those sectors. These AI based systems are just to assist them, just to reduce their workload, just to make the decisions faster and more accurate, but they are not to replace them. The next advantage of using machine learning is it can solve complex problems, sometimes those problems which are not otherwise possible to be solved by humans. Self-driving car, right? Go Alpha, these are the examples of like how machine learning is used in this real-time problems. This we discussed. Okay, so this is how machine learning works. You need to feed data to machine, machine analyzes the patterns of that data, machine learns. If you feed huge amount of data, the learning will be more accurate results will be produced, and once that model is trained with the data, you can use it for real life problems. Like, so once it is trained, it can make decisions. Machine learning, okay, let us briefly see the machine learning terminology. We have machine learning algorithm based on your, like you know that for weather forecasting we use machine learning. For stock market prediction, we use machine learning. For disease diagnosis, we use machine learning, but they are different kind of problems. Stock market prediction, weather prediction, these are the examples of prediction. You are estimating the value from the past data. So they are based on regression algorithms. Disease diagnosis, it is classification, whether patient is suffering, yes or no, whether patient is suffering from a disease, yes or no, yes, right. So this is classification problem, and if it is a classification problem, you need to use classification algorithm. So based on your objectives, you need to choose the right machine learning algorithm. Then choosing that algorithm, you create the model and you train it, you set the hyperparameters. Okay, you also need to determine predictor values and response variables and predictor variables, input output variables we discussed earlier, right. This is important step, like once you have data, once you have chosen machine learning algorithm, you will feed this data to this machine learning algorithm, so that model will be created. But now this data you need to divide, before you feed this data to machine, you need to divide into two major parts, training data and testing data. The role of training data is to train machine, right. Machine learns from that training data, and once it learns, its performance is evaluated with testing data, and then only it is deployed in real life sector. Because through testing data you check whether it is producing competent results, accurate results. If not, then further you need to improve, you need to give more training, you need to fine tune parameters, and you need to create a model which produces results with acceptable accuracy, and then only you can deploy that model in real life. Otherwise, like you need to train it again and again, you need to fine tune parameters, etc. So testing data is to just evaluate the performance of trained model. Okay, validation data, okay. Validation data is a part of training data. I will not discuss much on this because it is like more on machine learning. It is a subject which you study over the period of 6 months, right. So it cannot be fully covered within this stipulated time. Okay, these are like validation data is a part of training data. So that is about the machine learning. What are the applications? All real life sectors wherein we use AI. So machine learning is used anywhere for automation. Machine learning is used anywhere for automation. So here are some use cases, search engines, as we have already discussed, to produce results for your queries, to identify your voice, to translate languages, etc. Email programs, they use machine learning to differentiate between spam and non-spam emails, right? You know that there is a spam folder and automatically mails go to that folder. That is application of machine learning. So with particular patterns, machines are made to learn that which kind of emails should be tagged as spam emails and which are non-spam emails. Banks, we have discussed the applications. Smartphones, your smartphones, they use machine learning to recognize your face, to recognize your speech, to recognize gestures, to recognize objects. So smartphones, they also use machine learning. Robots, they use machine learning to identify obstacles and objects and to automate the activities. Autonomous car, they also use machine learning to drive the car, to identify signals, to identify signs, traffic signs, to identify obstacles. Video game which you play on your gadgets, they use machine learning to improve users experience, right? As you play that game, you might have observed that like it gives you better experience. Adaptive telescope, they use machine learning to improve the quality of images. Disease diagnosis, it is the example of machine learning in healthcare. So these are the major steps of machine learning. Now you observe this most of the steps are similar to data science process. What were the steps in data science process? Collection of data, cleaning data, EDA, and then this is the fourth step on which we are discussing, building model. Now see these are the steps of machine learning process. The steps are data collection, preparation, then choosing learning algorithm, testing the model. Yes, these are similar to data science because as I told you, machine learning and data science, they go together. So when you say that I am working on machine learning project, what is that? Collect data, decide what data is required. If it is not available, collect it. Then filter the data, pre-process it, right? Then choose the right algorithm, whether it is prediction or whether it is classification or whether it is unsupervised, etc. Then train the model. After training, test its performance. Okay? If not good, then further train it and train it till you get the acceptable accuracy or you get the minimum error. Then evaluate. I have not, like without specs it's possible, not able to read the fonts. Then the next step is evaluating model. Yes, you evaluate the model and then the last step is prediction. So once it is trained, you can deploy it in real life and you can use it for real life purposes. So these are the different uses of, these are the different steps of machine learning which are similar to data science steps. So these are the popular techniques of machine learning. Machines learn through one of these techniques: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning. Let me give you example of supervised learning or analogous example. When you were kids, you were taught by your parents and teachers that this is how you should write 1, this is how you should write alphabet A, this is how you should write alphabet B. So that is supervised learning. You were taught, right? Similarly, if we feed labeled data to machine, labeled data means suppose I am creating an automated system to identify shape on the image. Okay? So I want machine to identify the shape when I feed the picture of the shape. So first you need to make machine to learn. You need to give label data. You need to feed some images with labels. This is rectangle shape, this is triangle shape, this is circle. So when you feed multiple such images, it learns that there are 3 sides and 3 angles, it is triangle. When there are 4 sides and 4 angles, it is rectangle. When the sides are of like width and height, when they are different, it is rectangle. When there is no corner, it is circle. So it learns from this data and it is labeled data. So it learns. So once you make it learn from these images, like you have given input data also and along with that output also. What is output? The name of shape. So you are giving both kind of data, input and output. And then you are making machine to learn from that data, so that once it learns, it will be able to detect from a new image that whether it is rectangle, square, circle, triangle. So that is, you are automating this task. Okay, and this is supervised learning because you are giving labeled data. Okay. Okay, now what is unsupervised learning? Let us discuss the analogous example. You have learned so many things in your life which are not taught by your parents, which are not taught by anyone, right? You have observed, you have learned, maybe from your friends, maybe from your surroundings, through observation and analysis. You have observed on your own and you have learned those things. So that is unsupervised. You are learning on your own, right? Nobody is teaching you, but you are learning on your own through observation and analysis. So that is unsupervised learning. For example, if I feed some kind of images, say animal images to machine, and I am asking machine to learn itself, that learn from these images. So machine may notice that if it is a tiger, it has this kind of color, size, shape, the texture of skin, etc. If it is the image of cat, if it is the image of say rabbit, so it learns features on its own. It observes and everyone, like as in real life, everyone has different learning capability. You don't have same learning capability. Some of you might be taught 10 times how to write A, some of you might be taught 20 times how to write A, because you have different learning capability. Similarly, different algorithms, they perform differently, they have different observing capability. So you need to check that for a particular kind of data, which technique learns faster or better. Right? So that we have several unsupervised learning algorithms also, and that is unsupervised learning. Reinforcement learning, where we don't have data. We don't have data. Algorithm interacts with environment, algorithm explores the environment, and with trial and error, algorithm learns. So for AlphaGo and for self-driving car, we are using reinforcement learning. We don't have data, right? This algorithm explores the environment and learns on its own based on awards and penalty, based on trial and error. If it is good attempt, then awards is given, and if it is wrong attempt, then penalty is assigned to algorithm. So based on that it learns. So for several real life complex applications, we use reinforcement learning today. Okay, and most of the books you will find this traditional ways of learning, supervised, unsupervised and reinforcement learning, but let me also tell you that there is also hybrid learning technique, semi-supervised learning. It is also known to several researchers nowadays, and beyond that there is self-supervised learning, which was invented in 2020 by chief scientist of Facebook AI team, Yann LeCun. His name is Yann LeCun, and he invented self-supervised learning in 2020. So it has been only 2 years, like last week only I conducted session on self-supervised learning for medical data in IIIT Hyderabad. It's completely new concept. It is also hybrid approach, self-supervised learning, and it is mainly invented for natural language processing and medical data, and beyond medical data you can say computer vision applications. So it is mainly useful when you have a small amount of labeled data and large amount of unlabeled data. You might be wondering that is there any real life sector where we have such kind of data? Yes, in most of the sectors we have such kind of data, because labeling data is a cumbersome task. It requires domain knowledge. For example, you have collected CT images or X-ray images or MRI images from radiology center. Okay, those images are not useful until you annotate those images. Like you need to annotate different parts on those images, and then only you can feed to machine. Then only machine can learn. If it is a stomach ultrasound, there are so many organs. Liver is there, pancreas is there, gallbladder is there, small intestine is there, large intestine is there. How it will learn which is which part, right? So you need to label, like we need to, and we can't label because we don't have domain knowledge. So we need to take their help, and they don't have time because we are a highly populated country. They are busy in their routine jobs, so they cannot annotate this thousands of images. So this is where like there is a big gap when we want to do research on emerging topics or unexplored topics in data science and machine learning. So we need labeling, we need label for those images. So what does it mean? Like they can annotate and they can teach you. They can annotate 100 images, 200 images, 500 images, and they can teach you how to annotate, right? But they cannot annotate thousands of images which you will be using to train your model. Okay, now you have learned, but you are not expert of that domain. And if suppose they have taught 2 to 3 of you, then it is subjective also. Okay, you may like this is pancreas, and slightly at different part you will show that this is pancreas. So like it varies, labeling is also subjective. So this is a big problem that in most of the real life sectors we have a small amount of labeled data, but we have a huge amount of unlabeled data. When we have unlabeled data, how can we make machines to learn from that data, because it is unlabeled. So this is where we need, this is the biggest challenge, biggest problem in data science, and this is where we can use self-supervised learning, which was introduced in 2020 by Facebook chief scientist, right, of AI group. So that is self-supervised learning. Later you can explore, but if you want to learn self-supervised learning, you should have thorough knowledge of supervised, unsupervised learning, then only you can understand. So it is completely technical, right, topic, and you can understand only if you have thorough knowledge of this types of learning. And this types of learning you can learn when you learn entire machine learning subject. But it is very interesting because for most of the domains we can use that self-supervised learning. Okay, here I have included some examples of machine self-supervised, supervised machine learning. This is unsupervised. You can see that Jerry and Tom, these images are fed to machine, and machine is asked to differentiate between them. So machine looks at the different features of this images, like big ears. You can see that this group, they have big ears, but this group they don't have. So it learns on its own, right? Suppose I am not teaching you, I am giving you a basket of blocks, and I am asking, I am giving all of you a separate basket of blocks, like all baskets they are containing the same number of blocks, same type of blocks, and if I ask you to separate them, to create different groups, right? Somebody may create clusters of those blocks based on shape, that these are square blocks, these are rectangle blocks, these are triangle blocks. Some of you may segregate them based on color, these are red color blocks, these are yellow color blocks, these are green color blocks. Some of you may segregate them based on size, these are small blocks, these are big blocks. So see, observation is different, learning is different, and some of you may segregate considering all these features, right? So when it is unsupervised learning, it is unsupervised, we are not teaching anything to machine. Based on its own learning, it has to segregate, and we have to check whether it is as per our requirement, as we desired, not, then we have to make changes, right? Okay, this is reinforcement learning. As I told you, it learns based on trial and error, based on awards and penalties. So this is just an example that if it makes a good attempt, then award is given. If it is wrong attempt, then penalty is given. And here, like, okay, I'll share this link with you. This is, I think, Edureka link, where they have nicely explained this machine, supervised, unsupervised and reinforcement learning. And these are various types of this machine learning algorithms, supervised algorithms, unsupervised algorithms, several algorithms are there, and they all have their pros and cons. So usually what people do when they work on any data science project, and if it is classification problem, then they apply some like suitable based on the objectives and based on the data, they choose not one, but they choose some number of algorithms, they apply them and they check which algorithm is giving good results, and then that is like for further analysis that algorithm or that model is used. It is not like in one attempt you can determine the best algorithm for your data science applications, never. You need to experiment with different machine learning classification algorithms. You need to check performance in different setups, in different scenarios, and then you can conclude that which classification algorithm is giving good results. For example, it is say pneumonia detection from X-ray image. So you are automating this task. It is classification algorithm. Patient is suffering from pneumonia, yes or no, right? So you can, you need to attempt, you need to experiment with different classification algorithms in different scenarios, and then you can conclude that which is giving more accurate results for your problem. I think we can. I think we have break at 12. Yeah, so it is exactly 12. We can cover case studies in next section. Yeah, we can cover this part in next session. So any query till this point? Any question? So far we have covered only fundamentals of artificial intelligence, fundamentals of data science, and applications of artificial intelligence and data science, right? Yeah.
Ma'am, since there is a new product in the market named ChatGPT and it worked on the basis of the data and the machine learning models, but when we compare it with Google, Google also works on the same way. Google has multiple data sets and it answers people queries using those data sets. So what is the main difference between ChatGPT and Google on
Main difference between?
the ChatGPT, which works on the data sets of machine learning models. You ask whatever question you want and it uses machine learning models to answer that question. On the same way, Google also does the same work. But what is the difference between both of them?
Difference between Google and I didn't get that. You are asking the difference between Google and
a new product in the market.
It's a new product in the market because, okay, fine, it's a good question. 10 years back, or 5 years back, if you were using Google, do you remember that it was suggesting that completing your query, like when you type your query, now it helps you to complete your query, right? When you type few words, it suggests that this may be your query. It gives you a list of like possible queries, okay? This was not there earlier, before 5, 8, 10 years, I don't know exactly how many years. When we were using Google, we used to type the entire query because that time Google had limited data set, right? But now when you have started using Google search engine and when you have started typing that data, it has started collecting that data too, and with this new data, the machine learning algorithm which is running on the backside, it learns that when these are the two words, the query may be this, right? For example, say temperature. So the query may be today's temperature, tomorrow's temperature, or this month temperature, Jan temperature. So like from the different queries from different users, it has learned, it has created, like it has increased its data set, and now they have a huge set of data which others do not have, right? Moreover, you might be knowing that Google has produced a very good algorithm for eye related diseases, diagnosis of eye related diseases. So they have tie up with medical organizations, they have collected data over this several periods, and then they have started working on automating those things. So they have a huge amount of data which others do not have. So before you before you start working or when you want to produce accurate results, you should have more amount of data, and that's why I told you that this is the case with humans also, right? When we were kids, we start speaking, but when we go out, we learn more, our vocabulary increases, we start speaking clear sentence. So learning increases means more accurate results. So with more, like when you use some product, you are also using Google Home and Amazon Alexa. So whatever you like, for whatever purpose you use it, it records it, and the background algorithm learns continuously. Even when you search for any result, you know, always there is a background algorithm which learns from your response to your results. Suppose you have typed one query, it has shown you some results. Probably you have opened the first result and you felt that it is not accordance to your query, you move to the next search result and you stayed there for a long time. So what the background algorithm learns, the first result which it has produced is not accordance to your query and it is not like as expected, but you spend more time on the second result, so it learns that this is in accordance with the query. So this is how it learns, right?
Ma'am, recently like we studied data science in this semester. During the cleaning value step, you discussed missing values. So in the missing value section, we learned that the missing values can also be replaced through machine learning algorithms like KNN. So ma'am, I would like to ask that in the class we learned that the missing values which are not MNAR values, not at random values, has to be, there is no step currently which can fill them. You have to delete the entire row or column for that subject. So ma'am, do you have any idea, like is there any sort of statistics model or algorithm which we can use to replace the MNAR values?
Yeah, it's a good question. Let's say there are 1 million records you have collected to train your model, and there are say 5% or 2% records having missing values. If there are 2%, you can delete them. If you have similar kind of records, suppose I want to train machine to recognize triangle shape from the images. I have so many images of triangle and the distorted images, like there are missing values in the records, but we have similar kind of other records available in the data set. So we can remove, because we know that similar kind of data is available and machine will learn. So we can remove those records. But if there are more records, like there are 1000 records and say 1000 or million records, and say there are 10-15% of records having missing value, you cannot remove them, right? Moreover, if they are like we don't have similar kind of other records in the data set, we can't remove them because similar cases are not available. Then machine will not learn for such kind of cases and may not produce accurate results when such kind of cases will be presented in real life. So we need to thoroughly analyze that is it advisable to remove these records, we have similar kind of records, or we have like more number of records. If we remove this, like it should not affect the training of machine. Second thing, as you mentioned, we also have nowadays prediction models which can be used to predict missing values for those records. For example, say just for example 1000 records are there and 100 records have missing value. So what we can do, we can use 900 records to train the prediction model. That prediction model will predict the value for those missing values, and then that can be used. Other methods are also there like mean, mode, median method, and etc. So it depends like that what amount of how many values in one record. There may be 2-3 missing values, there may be only one value. So you need to thoroughly analyze and you need to thoroughly decide that which technique you will apply to deal those missing values. Like there is no standard rule that this should be adopted for this kind of application. No, there is no standard rule to deal with missing values. Any other question? Yeah, and during break also, like you can offline, you can discuss questions with me. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was indeed a very informative session. We got to know about AI and its various use cases. We could also understand data science and that it can be probably utilized by fusion of CS, maths, stats and various business.